In 1953, in a row house in Scranton, Pennsylvania, a coal mine foreman sat his 14-year-old son down at the kitchen table, opened a black ledger book, and made the boy write down every penny he had spent that week before he was allowed to eat supper. The boy earned $3 on a paper route, and his father made him divide it into 3 jars on the windowsill before a single coin went into his pocket. Not a lecture, not a punishment, not anything the magazines ever printed about the warm, easygoing dad in the armchair with his pipe. These were the rules. A generation of men carried out of the Depression and pressed into their sons like a brand. Almost everything you picture about the 1950s father is wrong. The advertisers sold you a smiling man in a cardigan, handing his boy a shiny new bicycle, signing for it on easy monthly terms, never once raising his voice about money. The real man at that table had watched banks fail and neighbors lose houses, and he taught his sons a code so strict it sounds almost cruel today. Number 23 on this list is a rule about borrowed money so harsh that most of you have already broken it this morning. Number 11 is the strange thing fathers made their sons do with a brand new pair of shoes before they were ever allowed to wear them. And number 1 is not a clever trick at all. It is the single sentence almost every one of these men said to his son, the sentence underneath all 24 other rules, the reason the whole code existed in the first place. He did not inherit prosperity, he inherited fear, and he turned that fear into a set of laws. Hit subscribe, because what you are about to hear is not the 1950s the sitcoms sold you. This is the American father as the bank passbooks, the layaway slips, and the sons who grew up under him actually remember it. Harder, shrewder, and far stranger than the legend. Let us count down. Number 25, never carry what you cannot count. The picture sold a man whose money lived loose in his trouser pocket, casual and easy. The real father made his son fold his bills the same way every time, biggest on the inside, and know the total before he ever walked into a store. A boy who could not say to the penny what he was carrying was a boy who would be cheated, and a man who was cheated, the father said, had only himself to blame. Number 24, the dollar is a worker, not a guest. Advertisers in those years begged you to spend, to enjoy, to live a little. The father told his son a different thing entirely. Every dollar you keep goes to work for you. In 1955, a passbook savings account paid right around 2.5%. A boy who banked $20 and left it alone earned 50 cents a year doing nothing at all. And that 50 cents, the father said, was the first dollar he ever made without lifting a finger. Money that sat in a pocket was a worker sent home idle. Number 23, never borrow for anything that gets eaten, worn out, or used up. Here is the rule most of you broke at breakfast. The credit card had not arrived yet, but installment buying had, and the magazines pushed it hard, urging families to charge the groceries, the clothes, the night out. The father drew a hard line. You may borrow for a house because a house lasts. You never borrow for a meal because the meal is gone and the debt is not. A man who financed his supper, he said, was paying interest on something already in the toilet. Number 22, the down payment is the test. The sitcoms showed the easy handshake, the man signing for the new car with nothing down. The real father said the size of the down payment told you whether you could truly afford the thing. His rule was simple and brutal. If you cannot put 1/3 of the price down in cash, you cannot afford it, and wanting it does not change the arithmetic. A new Chevrolet in 1955 ran about $1,700, and he expected near $600 in hand before a son ever talked terms. Number 21. Pay the man you owe before you feed yourself anything but bread. The image was of the carefree fellow who let the milk bills slide a month. The Depression father had watched what slid bills did to families, and he flipped the order. The rent, the coal man, the doctor, those came first, in full, on the day they were due. Whatever was left fed the wants. A son who skipped a payment to buy himself a soda learned that his name at the corner store was the only credit he would ever truly own. Number 20. Learn one trade so well they cannot replace you cheap. Money rules were never only about spending. The father knew the surest hedge against debt was a wage no one could undercut. He pushed his son toward a skill: welding, wiring, plumbing, bookkeeping, anything with a certificate behind it. A union journeyman electrician in the mid-50s earned around $3 an hour while a sweeper earned $1. The father did the math out loud. $2 extra an hour over a 40-hour week was $80 more, better than $4,000 a year. And $4,000 a year, he said, was the difference between owing and owning. Number 19. Repair it 3 times before you replace it once. Advertisers had begun selling the throwaway, the new model every year, the idea that mending was for the poor. The father saw mending as proof you were not. He made his son resole shoes, patch inner tubes, solder the leaking pot, splice the frayed lamp cord. A new pair of work shoes cost around $8 in 1955. A resoling cost $1.25. 3 resolings bought 1.5 years of wear for less than $4, and the father called that arithmetic the whole secret of staying out of debt. Number 18. A man pays cash and asks the price first. The picture was of the confident shopper who never haggled, never asked, simply charged it. The father taught the opposite as a matter of dignity. You ask what it costs before you want it, you pay in full, and you walk out owing no one. He told his son that the moment you needed a thing badly enough to borrow for it, the seller already owned you. Cash, he said, was the only word in the store that never lied. Number 17. Keep 6 weeks of wages where you cannot easily reach it. The advertisers never once mentioned the rainy day, only the sunny one. The Depression father thought of nothing else. He drilled his son to build a cushion before he built anything else. 6 weeks of pay set aside and forgotten. On a $100 weekly wage that meant $600 in the bank before a man bought a single luxury. The cushion was not for fun, he said. It was so that the day the plant closed, you owed the bank nothing, and you begged no one. Number 16. Never co-sign, not for a friend, not for a brother. The warm picture showed neighbors helping neighbors, a handshake good as gold. The father had seen handshakes bury whole families. His rule allowed no exception. If a man cannot get the loan on his own name, the bank already knows something you do not, and when he fails to pay, the paper comes to you. He told his son he could lend a friend money he was willing to lose, but he must never lend his signature, because a signature could take the roof. Number 15, the second-hand thing bought with cash beats the new thing bought on time. The showroom and the catalog sold the smell of the brand new, the pride of the first owner. The father priced it out cold. A used icebox or a used car bought outright for $50 cost $50. The same comfort financed new cost the sticker plus a year of carrying charges, often 18% on top. He made his son say it back. The new thing you cannot pay for is more expensive than the old thing you can. Number 14, write it down or it is already lost. Here we return to that black ledger on the kitchen table. The image of the relaxed provider never showed a man with a pencil tracking dimes. The real father believed money you did not record was money already gone. He made his son keep a running account, every nickel in, every nickel out, totaled every Sunday night. The boy who knew exactly where $3 went, the father said, would one day know exactly where 3,000 went, and the man who did not would always wonder why the month outlasted the pay. Number 13, give a tenth away before you spend a cent on yourself. The advertisers framed money as wholly your own, to enjoy. Many a father, especially in church-rooted homes, taught the tithe as the first cut, not the last. 10 cents of every dollar went to the collection plate or the needy neighbor before the boy bought anything. The father said a man who could not give away a dime of a dollar was owned by the other 90 cents, and a man owned by his money was halfway to debt, no matter how much he had. Number 12, never let a salesman set the timetable. The whole machinery of installment selling ran on hurry, the limited offer, the sign today, the easy now, and pay later. The father taught his son to slow every purchase down on purpose. Sleep on it a night, he said, and most wants die in their sleep. The salesman is paid to make you decide before you think, and the man who decides on the salesman's clock is the man who pays on the salesman's terms for years. Number 11, break in the new shoes before you trust the new job. Here is the strange thing fathers did with a brand new pair of shoes. A man bought one good pair of leather work shoes, maybe $8 or $9, and the father made the son wear them around the house first, oil the leather, work them soft, so they lasted years instead of months. The lesson underneath was the real one. You take care of the few good things you own, because the man who ruins his tools and his shoes is the man who is always buying them again and always a little more in debt. Number 10, the bank is not your friend and not your enemy. It is a tool. The advertising of the day painted the banker as a kindly neighbor in a vest. The Depression. Father had watched those same neighbors padlock the doors in 1933. He taught his son to use the bank without trusting it, to keep his savings spread, to read every figure on the passbook, and never to borrow from one without knowing precisely what it cost. A loan, he said, is a tool you rent, and you had better know the rent before you sign. Number 9, a paid-off house is the only roof that cannot be taken. The image of the era was the proud new homeowner waving from the porch of a Levittown box bought on a 30-year note. The father did not sneer at the house. He sneered at the note. He pushed his son toward the largest down payment he could manage and the shortest term he could carry, and he taught him to throw every spare dollar at the principal. A house you owe on, he said, is a house the bank lets you sleep in. A house you own is yours when everything else is gone. Number 8, count the carrying charge as part of the price. The catalogs advertised the monthly figure in big print and buried the total in small. The father made his son add it up. A washing machine at $200 cash, financed over 2 years at the going rate, cost closer to $240 before it was done. $40, he said, was a week of a working man's wages handed to a lender for the privilege of not waiting. He made the boy ask of every purchase, "What does the time cost?" because the time always costs something. Number 7, never spend the overtime, never spend the bonus. The advertisers loved the windfall, the splurge, the reward you owed yourself. The father treated extra money as a stranger he did not trust. The regular wage paid the regular life. The overtime, the Christmas bonus, the unexpected $10, all of it went straight into savings before the hand could close around it. A man who learned to live on his base pay, he said, was a man who could survive a pay cut, and the man who lived on his overtime was one slow week from the pawn shop. Number 6, your word on a debt is your whole name. The sitcom father shrugged off a late bill with a joke. The real one treated a debt as a thing that touched his honor. He told his son that in a town this size a man was nothing but his name, and a name that did not pay was a name no one would hire, lend to, or trust. He paid early when he could, exactly on time when he could not, and he made the boy understand that a good name at the bank and the corner store was worth more than the money it borrowed. Number 5, buy quality once or buy junk forever. The throwaway economy was just being born, and the ads pushed the cheap, the disposable, the replaceable. The father went the other way. He would save 3 weeks for one good wool coat at $30 rather than buy a thin one at $10 that died by spring. 3 cheap coats over 3 winters cost $30 and left him cold. One good coat cost the same and lasted 10 years. He made his son see that buying cheap was the most expensive habit a poor man could keep. Number 4, no man finances a vacation or a wedding or a funeral. The magazines were beginning to sell the borrowed celebration, the financed honeymoon, the installment Christmas. The father drew the line at the door of any event. You may have only the party you can pay for, he said, and a wedding bought on credit begins a marriage already owing. He had seen families pay for years on a single day's celebration, and he taught his son that the memory of a thing fades long before the debt for it does. Number 3, teach your own children this before they can spell. The advertisers wanted the next generation softer, easier, quicker to charge. The father saw his job plainly. The code died if it was not handed down, so he started early. The 3 jars on the windowsill, the ledger at the table, the dime in the plate, before the boy could even spell the word interest. He told his son that one day a smiling man would offer him everything now for a little each month, and the only defense was a lesson learned so young it felt like instinct. Here is the challenge. Before I tell you number 1, look back at the 24 rules you just heard. The ledger, the jars, the down payment, the cushion, the resoled shoes. Ask yourself what they were really for. Not the bank balance, not the paid-off house. Something underneath all of it, something the man at that kitchen table was far too proud and far too frightened to ever say out loud. Number 1, owe no man anything, so that no man can ever own you. That was the sentence, in a dozen plain wordings, that almost every one of these fathers said to his son. It was never really about the money. It was about a man who had stood in a bread line, who had watched a banker take a neighbor's farm, who had felt what it was to have his future held in another man's hand. Every jar, every ledger line, every resoled shoe was built on one terror and one hope, that his son would stand on his own 2 feet and bow to no one, because a man who owes nothing answers to nothing. And that, to a depression father, was the only freedom worth the name. So tell me the money rule your father or your grandfather drilled into you in the comments below. The jars on the windowsill, the never cosign, the pay the man before you feed yourself. I want to know whether his code still holds up against a world that now hands a teenager a credit card before a savings account, or whether we quietly traded a hard-won freedom from debt for the easy comfort of owing everyone all the time, forever.